off every single thing that I'd wasted money on before. To the point where I even sold my very beautiful, expensive car. And I was Ubering around because I came to the realization that Uber would be cheaper for me to Uber anywhere I wanted to go because I lived within a 9-kilometer radius of home. And I functioned around that. I did all my shopping around there. And for 2 years, I Ubered. For 2 years, I didn't buy that many clothes. And when I did buy clothes, I bought them for a specific reason. But I literally lived below my means. And I'll tell you right now, it wasn't a miserable experience. It was extremely exciting because you know why? I could actually watch my wealth grow while I made those sacrifices, and I knew exactly what my reward would be in 2 to 3 years' time. And I did achieve it, and hence I'm sitting here today and I'm able to wax lyrical about living below your means and articulating your goals. I literally am the poster child for that whole thing. And then I think also, Danilo, if you're in your 20s, I know we talk about investments and stocks and people sit there and they get extremely concerned and nervous about these things like I can't get into that. You know, there's a very, very low threshold to access to those things these days. If you just look at investment products, built just for us Africans. I know my mom was involved in this. My grandmother was involved in this. Is a society scheme account, which is basically a stokvel. Banks now have those stokvels actually articulated for you. So people will sit there and go, I'm too young. I don't have the money to invest. No. There's already products that are built to ensure that you can still access them at whatever income bracket you are at. And you can start actually utilizing these abilities of compound interest like I spoke to you about. And that's what I started doing. I became obsessed with reading up on, with going onto websites and going onto the Standard Bank website and looking at products and services and going, can I have that? Can I have that? What do I need to have that? And putting the plans in place to actually act on it. And I think that's part of being the curious one, but also it's part of realizing that even if you are in your 20s, guys, you can still get the ball rolling. It is your own race, but you can actually start running. Even with 100 Rand, even with 50 Rand, you can start running that race. And I think that's the practical step that I'd want to say. And then, so for me, it's just getting obsessed with learning about new things, learn what financial products are out there, learn what mistakes people are making, and then know what it is that you want so you can use all those lessons to ensure that you get there.
Awesome. Thanks, Doc. So we're just gonna take a couple of questions. So I see Pilani, Siabonga, Nondota, and Nikki. So we'll go in that flow. So Pilani, question, comment to Doc.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So my question is it ever too late to start building generational wealth, like realistically? And what's the best way to start?
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I love that question because thank you, Pilani, for your question. It's never too late. It's never, ever, ever too late. If you Google the top 10 wealthiest people in the United States right now, even Oprah and all of those people, they only started literally accumulating wealth in their 40s. So if you're sitting and you're 25 or you're 30 or you're 40, you still got the chance to keep pushing. I mean, if you just look at a retirement age is not at 65 for no reason. So if you're in your 20s or you're in your 30s and you're looking at how do I grow this and can I still do it, you need to understand you've got lots of time to do it. But also at the same time, what time are you measuring? And that's why I always like to say I run my own race. I run my own race. So if I started generating my wealth at 30, that was me. And regardless of your age, you know it's your race. You start using the capabilities around you to make that happen. And what do you do first? The first thing you do is to understand, Pilani, what is it you want? What do you want? What do you want? Because once you know what it is you want from life, you're not going to be scared to get into any of these things I'm talking about. If you know that you want to retire at 50 and you want a house in the seaside and you are living in a country that has a 75% unemployment, you are going to live on websites where you are learning about fixed deposits investments. You're going to know exactly what the difference in interest rate when you compare fixed deposit versus a shift account. You're going to understand all those things. And once you understand all those things, you're going to start your journey. It's never too late. And the moment you get involved, you're going to see the ball just starts rolling and everything starts working for you. Just like Danilo was saying, you know, whatever you throw out there, you start to attract towards you. And I think that's the parting word I'd give you. You're never too late and you can start. And you just need to start by using your phone and opening up a website and just reading. What is the Flexi Advantage investment account? And what's the difference between a money market account? And what does a savings account actually give me? And once you start playing with those things, your life changes because you start looking at life in a different way because you now have knowledge. And everything becomes easier for you to do. I hope that answered your question.
Awesome. Thanks, Doc. Siyabonga? Question, comments?
Hello and good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much, Doc, for the advice. I've got two things. First one, I've got comments. I'm one of those people that have actually my home has turned into a library in terms of my study. That's the way I've used in order to acquire knowledge. Recently, I bought a house. I think it was a year back. Before buying a house, I went on a research on what are the things to look out for when buying a house. Do you need a bigger house? What are the things to fix first once you've moved into a new house? And I think that has helped. And I agree with you, Doc, that any knowledge acquired and processed inside tends to become an understanding in the near future.
Yes.
So whatever that which you hear today, it can be that you've read something. It can be that you've heard how the rand is doing against the dollar. Once you process that becomes an understanding. In the near future, you start attracting more of things which pertain to that specific thing that you once researched about. But lastly, Doc, I think, for instance, me, I've closed down a lot of debts, and I'm a client of Standard Bank, and I'm happy with that. But one of the things I wanted to ask, Doc, is how do we get to developing or outlining the things that which we feel we are going to direct, be it our wealth, be it our savings into? Because I think I found myself in a position where I've closed a lot of debt. I think I'm left with one debt. I don't owe a car and all that. But I still feel as though the money that I get to have month end, I see it's a lot. But towards the end of the month, I find it as though somehow it ships out into things which I believe it's important stuff. How do we get to eliminate even the things that which we think this is important? And I say this very much from a dimension of, I understand that when others define economics, they always say our wants are unlimited, whereas the resources are limited. But I always find myself always wanting to be amongst those people that are acquiring those limited resources. So just help me on that, Doc. How do we go about stretching the capacity even more in terms of directing everything towards the goals? And how do we develop our goals in order for us to be able to deposit or throw whatever we have towards those goals? I don't know whether the question is clear, Doc. Thank you.
Very, very clear, Siyabonga. It's very, very clear. I think I also was in that position at some point of time. And it's a very dangerous position to be in when you're left with a lot of surplus at the end of the month, because you do then want to explore and do a few other things and also treat your most loved ones. But I think what I did very early on, Siyabonga, that has helped me a lot. And some people might not like me saying this because I do work at a bank, but I actually got the professionals involved. I mean, when I was a doctor, I had a planner, but I never interacted with them that much. And now that I'm actually working at a bank, I engage with financial planners on a regular basis, from both an internal work thing, but also from my personal portfolio. And I can't tell you the beauty and the advantage that one gets from partnering with the right financial consultant or financial planner, off from staying close to your private banker and your relationship manager, because those people are actually paid, Siyabonga, to sit there and to understand your goals and to ensure that whatever circumstance you are in, you are still working towards them. Because it's difficult for us as human beings to do it. I mean, I will want to save for something, and then my aunt will call me and be like, oh, my friends are all going to Durban for Easters. I also want to go, but I'm short of money. Then when I look at my bank account, I've got that money. I could easily give it to her. But when I have a financial planner or a relationship manager or a financial consultant that is very, very close to me and understands my family dynamics and my hopes and dreams, they then become that person that sits there and they become the bad cop. They then sit there and go, you've done these things, but do you realize that you've got this goal and you're not tracking towards it? So for me, what I'd say to you is that well done on getting to where you are at. It's an extremely big, big achievement to do that. I've been there as well. It's a beautiful thing. But at the same time, be very careful and start bringing in people. Talk to your financial planner. And if you don't have one, get in touch with them through Standard Bank and actually just say to them, this is where I'm at. This is what I've managed to do, and tell them your journey about how you closed off debt and finished things. And then after that, let them work with you and be that person that's going to come around and say to you, hang on a second, this extra money you get, let's put it into this vehicle. And then that will actually keep you in check, and it will keep you, it's like basically having a coach. There's no sportsman that's going to become a brilliant sportsman by themselves. They need a coach that's going to help them along that journey. And you need that. And I know people will say, oh, I don't trust bankers. No. Those people get paid to do exactly what it is that you need them to do. And it's what you need them to do right now. So actually talk to them, call them up and say to them, I've got too much money at the end of the month and I want to use it on certain things. But I don't want to use it on certain because I've got a goal. And let them articulate how you get there. You can't do it all by yourself. There's no I in team, and there's no wealth without having a team around you. I can tell you that. Nobody that's wealthy is doing it by themselves.
Get a coach, Siyabonga.
Yes, yeah, and thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doc. I think you've quite emphasized the important part. And lastly, Doc, my apologies. I think the most important thing also, Doc, that I've realized over the years is sometimes when you've got partners and maybe they are weaker where others are stronger. I just want to throw something in the air and say, once you've had the desire and you've acquired the knowledge, be patient patient towards those who are around you. I think 3 years ago, me and my wife were celebrating and buying everything that we wanted. But 3 years after, she asked me earlier this year, and she said, how does it happen that you actually always have something, even when the month is we're already creeping through the month? And I've always said to her, watch and learn. And through the years that we've stayed together, it was only this year that she began to see the importance of saving, the importance of investing. So I say this a lot because I know that it's one of the challenges that we experience in relationships, where you realize that where one is stronger, the other is weaker. That is also important to be patient and just keep those books, those knowledge around the person. Go to those financial workshops with this person. One day, the very same person next to you will see the light. Thank you so much, Doc, and everyone. We are enjoying the space.
Thanks, Siyabonga. Touched on the most important lesson of generational wealth, and that's sharing that knowledge with family members. That's how these families stay wealthy. So well done on that. Thank you.
Awesome. So, Nondota and Nikki, 2 last questions. So, Doc,
cool. Yeah.
Go for it. Sorry, go for it.
Cool. Thanks, Sam. Thank you so much, Doc, for this session, really. So one question that I have on my end, right? So I'm definitely feeling the pressure to build generational wealth, right? And sort of like the conversations around me, people are saying, have multiple streams of income, So my dilemma then is that I don't have that entrepreneurial spirit or bone in my body. So in that case, then how do I go about just making extra income? Also, because my savings interest is really little on my savings account.
Okay, Nondoda, I'd like to ask you then, what is one of your strengths? What is a strength of yours? Are you currently working in a role? Are you a bookworm? Are you smart at solving problems? What are your strengths?
Cool. So I am currently working right now, and I would say one of my strengths really is writing, and yeah, that's that.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, no, that's fine. I think for me, it's then sitting back and if you're not entrepreneurial, you're definitely not going to succeed in that space. Then it's understanding how do you utilize your current employment and your current way of making money. How do you emulate on that? Are there any extra things you could learn and do? I mean, there's a multitude of online free courses for different kind of careers online. And also, if you are in a job, I know quite a few organizations will tell you and will articulate what the growth potential is in a specific role that you're in and what you need to do. And if you aren't entrepreneurial, I think you need to focus on making yourself a bit more stronger in what you currently are doing, and to also look at people around you that are in senior roles and understand what they did to get there, because that's obviously going to be the way that you're going to make your money.
Dr. Thandu, if I can just interject as well. I started off in terms of work as a call center agent. I then worked for a book company. I then became a business writer. I then became somebody who works in finance. So I've essentially moved through 4 different sectors. And I think I've got a pretty good career and solid base in finance. But how I got into finance and how I got into the book industry was the fact that I loved books and I knew I could write. It was one thing I knew I didn't need to practice for. I didn't need to test. I didn't need to do anything. I've just always been good at writing. But that is the thing that actually landed me in financial services. It's the one skill that distinguished me from a whole lot of other people and allowed me to take on a job and become somebody, using a skill that I just never really thought much of, just because it was always something I could do. So I never really thought of it as a strength, really. It was just one of those things. It was like in my file of things I can do that not many other people can do, perhaps. So I think the other thing I want to certainly say is, take what you do, take what you love. So in my life, it was, I loved writing, I loved finance. I put those things together. I infused my own life story, and I was able to not only build really great connections, but the kind of connections that ended with me having the career that I have. So even with your strengths, when you've identified them, you need to think outside of the box in terms of how do you make the best of them.
No, brilliant. I absolutely agree. And that was your kryptonite, Danae. That was your kryptonite.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Oh, awesome, Dineo. Nikki, you got a question or comment?
Yes, hi everyone. Thank you so much for this session. It's really beneficial. I've learned so much already. It's actually just more around the pressure that I'm feeling. So, we've got a bond payment, there's car payments, pressures and school fees and things like that that's coming up, whilst trying to live debt-free, and you've got a well-paying job or maybe even multiple salaries that's coming in. The pressure is just saving for your own future, let alone that for generations to come. Is there any way that, you could maybe give some advice as to what's possible to start, or just some suggestions that it's just take that pressure off and maybe give some light into the situation we find ourselves in?
Definitely, Nikki. And I think you've articulated like all of your problems at the moment. But what would be interesting for me is to actually understand, do you fully understand and are you fully, have you clearly articulated where you are at financially? Do you have a budget that you are living by? Do you know what the knocks are that are pending? Because I think lots of the financial pressures I felt coming up were due to the fact that I didn't actually know. I knew I had things that I had to pay off. I knew I had cars and houses and all these things, but I didn't actually understand the monetary value behind it. And I didn't understand what financial tools I'd use to purchase it and what the agreements were and what the interest was all around that. And then I think for me, another important thing, Nikki, was that I was trying to do it all alone. And I can't express to you how much pressure was alleviated by me just working with the people that are trained to manage all these things for you. Because as much as you are in the deep and you are in the dark, you need to understand you're not the only person there, but also at the same time, you need to understand it's not just up to you and your family to sort it out. There are very well-versed professionals out there that can sit and look at your situation and structure certain things for you that will allow you to at least breathe for a bit. And then, of course, I think another thing for me, and I'm going slightly off the financial perspective and driving a bit more into the medical space, is if you are feeling those pressures, is you need to understand exactly how to manage all those pressures that you're feeling and what sort of tools you can utilize that are around you or intrinsically built into you to help you deal with that stress. Because the stress causes anxiety. The anxiety causes further depression and anxiety. And all of those things eventually do build up if you're not managing them properly and doing the right things to alleviate them. So for me, it's both a financial and a physical wellness answer to that is understanding where you're at, getting the right people to help you get to where you need to. And if you are in trouble, tell someone you're in trouble.